Alright, so what I've got here is a cylinder and an armature that's divided up several segments here, and I've got a cube that is what will render as my tooltip, and the animation goes from 0 to 100 keyframes like so. So what I did to set this up is, let me see, I'll add a mesh up here. Just a cylinder, and I'll take the radius down, this down to that, we'll say 6. Alright, tab into edit mode, hit Control R to put some edge loops in there. Now I'm going to select the top, hit Shift S, cursor to selected, tab back out in object mode, Shift A, and add an armature. Now I'll select my cylinder again, select this edge loop down here, hit Shift S, select cursor to selected, tab back out, tab into edit mode on my armature, Shift S, selection to cursor. And then I'm going to right click on my armature, click on subdivide, and we'll just say subdivide it just 3 times just for tutorial purposes here. So now that I've got an armature and my cylinder here, I'm going to add a cube where my cursor is right now. Just make it some arbitrary size. Alright. Now I'm going to select my cylinder, hold Shift, and select my armature. And hit Control P. And I'm going to parent that with automatic weights. So now when you go into pose mode, when you go to move your bones around, your mesh moves with it. Now this may not be important, but I just do it out of habit. But I go back into object mode and I'll hit Alt P, and I will clear parent and keep transformation. Just seems like if it's parented, then in the sim it's the mesh might be rotated in some weird position. I don't know if it matters or not, but it seems like that's fixed the problem for me in the past. But you notice even if you clear the parent, when you go back into pose mode, you can still pose it. That's because the mesh itself still is set up with these vertex groups. Now when you go into weight paint mode, you select your vertex groups, you see your weight paint is applied automatically there. Alright, so now that you've done all that, I'm not going to bother with animating it because I've already done it here. I'll just show you what you have to do as far as naming things. So I didn't bother with naming my armature. I just named this mesh throttle lever visual. But this down here, this cube, I named it throttle lever because that matches the node ID that I've got in my XML. And you'll notice the animation name matches the animation in my XML. Throttle lever NM, throttle lever NM, and I've got a tooltip in there, it just says throttle lever. Now the material for this cube needs to be the invisible type material, and your MSFS params or whatever. So you do all that, get your animation named, this named correctly, and export it. And when you load it into the sim, then you'll be able to see your tooltip pop up, and you'll be able to move it back and forth. So I hope this helps. Maybe it'll help. One thing I forgot, this cube needs to be parented to a bone in your armature, specifically this last bone right here. That way the cube will move with that last bone. And to do that, what you do is you select the cube first, then hold shift and select your armature. Oops, I'm sorry, the cube, and hold control if you're selecting here, and select the armature. Now go into pose mode and then select the bone that you want to parent to, hit Control P, and then parent it to bone. I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it again, but that's how you do it. And what it does is it'll just parent it to that one, this cube to that one bone. And now your cube or your tooltip will move along with the end of your noodle, whatever you want to call this thing. Alright,